Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Sabrina here, shamanic witch, psychic medium. Welcome if you are new here, and I have a lot of videos on a variety of subjects. I have a playlist. Most recently I've talked about my the improvement excuse me, the improvement of my life, as I've been constantly working to improve my life for many years. So if you're joining me now, I've just started a series on prosperity magics and how I actually improved my life, not only with hard work, but trying different magical techniques. And I stumbled upon one that is very powerful, and that is stellar magic. Now, I made a video on this in 2019 after I came across this man, Clifford Hartley Lowe, and his material. And, you know, it was one of those light bulb moments, because in practicing many different magical systems, or you could say dabbling, right? Trying a variety of things, I still seem to be always in a position of need. Now, the one time that I employed several different types of magics together, I did get an inheritance. I was not focusing on an inheritance and had not created a petition specifically requesting a sizable inheritance. I did have a psychic that I was corresponding with who mentioned that I was going to come into a sizable amount of money. And so that's what I was working towards magically, and also chanting Sanskrit mantra Shreem Brazi. Ultimately, I felt that I was led to fight for my inheritance, my rightful inheritance as the firstborn. My life was difficult. It had become difficult after my husband and I had fallen into lower middle class after our second child was born. There are several things that you need to do mundanely as well as magically in order to improve your life. Now, if you're happy where you are, you may just find this interesting. If you have not really suffered, if you're upper middle class or beyond, you have family and friends and lots of support, then you may not be interested in this particular series, Prosperity Magics, and in particular, Stellar Magic. But if you are, if you're interested in raising your station in life, if you were born into poverty or lower middle class, or you were middle class or upper middle class, and you fell to lower middle class or poverty, then I encourage you to really listen if you're interested in trying to employ your will and your mind and use other things of this earth and this world to assist you. There are other energies that we need. I had gotten to the point in my life where I had done everything I had been told to do. My husband did not believe in saving. We were not able to save anymore. So, along with having purchased an air conditioner that we were told we needed and it was way too big, getting the Sears credit card and struggling to pay that, and him just paying the minimum. I was no longer in charge of the money. I was too busy working and raising children. So, I was burning the candle at both ends there as well. And that went on and on until I fell into a physical and mental imbalance. I was severely depressed, and I had to start looking for other things to assist me, other energies to draw upon. I was completely burnt out. And so, my change was very dramatic, and I felt like I had remembered another way to live. And I began using a sacred space next to my bed. I briefly mentioned that story, but I bought a candle at the dollar store, and I took some cardboard boxes that had storage stuff in them and shoved them in the bedroom of our mobile home next to the bed, put a piece of plywood on top, put a scarf, and lit the candle. And that's where it all started. I began to remember things that I had learned in previous lives. And then I met my spirit guide, and he helped me even further. So it's been over 20 years, and I have experienced a lot of things, paranormal, seen and heard and felt things from other dimensions. That's not for everyone. But I still feel like having knowledge that we live in a multidimensional universe is really important. So we have the earth plane, all of the spirits and the energies from plants and flowers and herbs and spices and trees. And then we have the elements. All of these are energies that can assist you. And, that's the thing. Our energy is limited. So, for several years, I felt like I was just constantly putting out fires, and then, money would come, but then I needed money again, So I was always searching for the longer lasting money that would come in. It did come when I received my inheritance, and I was able to do some things that I've never been able to do before. And one of those things was to go to beauty school and turn my talent for healing skin and my interest in skincare into a vocation. Of course, now we're in a pandemic, so that's another issue. But I ended up selling my mobile home and starting a new chapter of my life. But as I was doing that, going through that struggle, selling my furniture, having house showings every weekend, emptying the house more and more each week by selling things on Facebook Marketplace, making sure the lot rent was paid every month, and finally getting the city to repair my lights so I could get my lights turned back on, I had more things I still had to learn. Now, I invested in myself, and I do not regret taking that money and using that for that. That is a trade that I can still draw upon. And that's another thing you need, is a skill or a specialized skill from a vocational school. So I did some other Sanskrit mantras at the time, and was also working at my altar when I hit upon Clifford Hartley Lowe in the month of February. And I began talking about the moon and the stars, and really doing more with star energy than just stargazing. Now, I had some pretty interesting experiences just by stargazing on a multitude of stars in a constellation before I went to sleep. This is a wonderful energy for clearing the mind. It's very powerful. If you're one of those people who needs to get on a motorcycle and take a ride to clear your mind, then you know what I'm talking about. The element of air, it just permeates the entire universe. So star energy is very closely related to that. We're dealing with the higher plane, the mental plane, and that's really where all the energy trickles down from. When you are born, you are stamped with whatever places and positions the planets were in, okay? And this gives you your natal chart. And so, I'm sorry, I'm crooked again. I've talked about referring to your natal chart. You need to, but it's not it's not a fatalistic view. Magical practitioners work to change whatever negative aspects are going on in their life. And once you learn about the phases of the moon and the Sabbats and the Esbats, you go on to planetary magic, hopefully. And that's the next thing you need to learn. Hopefully you start carving your candles with planetary sigils. And you start calling on them to assist you. You make some type of temporary talismans, even if they're wooden ones, like I was making. And you're working in the proper day and the proper hour. And I did this for several years. And after reading many books and documenting my spell works and the results, I hit upon a combination of planets and what day and what hour to work on before I went to a contest, and we ended up winning the biggest prize of all. It was the entertainment center, and I have a video on that here on my channel. Oh God, that was a happy day. But you know, part of it was allowing myself to have it. For some reason, I had just gotten into this mode, and as a woman adopted my husband's mentality. We had different cultures, right? And he grew up in abject poverty. So the life we had was a step up for him, but it was a step down for me because we were losing our position in middle class with two of us working once we had our second child. So, you know, I got tired of looking at the few things we had that were from Goodwill or garage sales or furniture we put together that was now completely falling apart. And there was a candle on the entertainment center that he lit every day. And every time I looked at it, my psychic centers were activated. And I thought, I don't know how we could get another entertainment center, but we need one. And that's what we ended up winning at his company picnic. And we got to choose the wood and everything. So that was left behind at the mobile home. We enjoyed it, or I had it for 7 years. It was at the house for a couple of years. But, you know, it was very heavy and out of date. So, but I learned. You know, I learned exactly what planetary energies can do. Now, that brought in a wonderful piece of furniture for the home that would last for 20 years or more. And, you know, it was attractive and durable. But it was after that, when I went on to be a single parent and was really struggling, that I began to employ some hoodoo magics with Sanskrit mantras, and went to visit my mother, found out she had some money, and after I went back and wrote the eulogy, performed the eulogy and everything else, cleared out the house with the help of my son, discovered she had money, and that's, you know, how I got the inheritance. Now, Clifford Hartley Lowe employed some of those magics as well, but he had an additional one. So there's a combination of things that you may have to learn and do in order to get yourself out, and it doesn't have to take long, okay? You might only do 1 or 2 simple things. He wrote a petition that he got a sizable inheritance, and he had engraved talismans that he was wearing on his fingers, along with the other magics that he was putting in his pocket and, you know, probably anointing himself, I don't remember, and putting the petition under a lodestone and feeding that lodestone and talking to the lodestone. It's amazing stuff, guys. You know, I have a tektite that I've had amazing things happen by communicating with that tektite and showing it, you know, what I need and what I want. Now, recently, I've been struggling with getting my unemployment. And even though I've chanted to Ganesha, using the resource mantra, and I lit a candle to Mars, nothing has come unstuck yet. However, I did answer the phone at the right moment. It kept ringing and ringing, and so I answered it. And one of the things I've been wanting was there, a long-term assignment. So hopefully I'll get that. But I've also received a very large raise. So, this has been a process for me of about 9 to 10 years. I had invested some of my money and it grew. I was in a studio apartment for a year, and then I didn't know how I could get out, but the same company had this place here. What I think was really working on my mind was how to get a living situation that I need and that I've wanted for a long time. The mobile home was close to my daughter's high school, and I did not have enough money or enough credit any longer to purchase a condominium in that area or a house. So, it is what it is. And so while learning about Ganesha in January, and then I was able to find a realtor and find out that mobile homes had just been allowed to be listed on the MLM, and I was the first one. I'm a number one, birth date number one. Excuse me for smacking. I considered that luck and assistance from Ganesha. And the struggle is what grows our awareness, It grows our it shapes us, right? I was crying almost every night, not knowing if the house was going to sell in May or not. But in February, after talking a little bit about Clifford Hartley Lowe, I ended up deleting those videos. I'm remaking this one, which I think will be better. Now, I've taken some notes here on how it is that I believe stellar magic has been working on me. Not just giving me luck on one day where I win a prize, or having me go and honor my mother, and find out that there is some money that can help me make a better life. But changing me internally and the way I think and feel about where I live. In other words, for so many years we just went to Goodwill. I was frugal, I think, to an extreme. And we buy furniture we had to put together and so forth and so on, because I thought, we've got a few extra dollars that way. But, if you're not saving, which my husband did not agree with, or putting it in an account that will earn some interest, which he didn't think was worth it, you're going to have happen to you what happened to us, and that is fall into poverty. So you've got to find a way to get a skill, invest in something that will grow or pay you a dividend, work towards getting a raise. Ultimately, I decided I was going to work with a fixed star by the name of Aldebaran. So I watched his videos over and over again, and I learned that there are 15 fixed stars that are associated with doing almost miraculous things in your life. Stellar energies can fix whatever is not working right in your natal chart. The other day I made a video and I ended it by saying, if for some reason you make a talisman that you feel you're physically feeling ill all the time, then that might not be the particular fixed star or planet for you. Christopher Warnack made a Mars talisman, okay? That's a planet. And he began to feel sick. And then he realized Mars was negatively aspected in his chart. But I think that when we're talking about star energy, it's so high up, you know, in the hierarchical arrangement of things, that it overrides any cracks or negative aspects in your chart. And that is what's so friggin' amazing about it. And that's when I decided that not only do I love stars, you know, and I've had some incredible mind-clearing wind blow through my mind while I'm sleeping after stargazing, but I wanted to have it as a permanent talisman. Now, I have shown you my jewelry, which I have suffumigated in incense, or a wooden talisman I've made, but those are temporary and not necessarily that powerful. In February, because I've been reviewing my videos and going back in my mind, February of 2019 is when I talked about the stars and the moon in Taurus. And I made a video on how to work with the moon in Taurus and get a bunch of symbols and water and dirt and suffumigate a lapis lazuli stone. And that is a way for you that you can begin aligning yourself and tuning to the moon in Taurus. This has to do with moon transits. This is another intermediate aspect of magic and planetary magic. And then a very high form of magic called elite magic, stellar or celestial magic, the fixed stars, and engraving talismans. As I was making that moon in Taurus video, I had this little pendant. And afterwards, I realized, oh my goodness, I have a silver encased moonstone pendant and a sterling silver necklace. You could say that was fate. And I said, I made a video stating I was going to make a video in March of me engraving this pendant, and I did, but I was so haggard and so exhausted and my hair looked raggedy and greasy or whatever, I deleted it. So I'm remaking it. Hold on a second. All right, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. We are going to be working somewhat with your natal chart, but not as a fatalistic tool, but working to remedy or override things in your chart that may be negatively aspected or just not activated. In my case, I have Taurus and Gemini at the 11th house, and there are no planets in there. When a planet does go in there, I feel it very strongly. But, you know, it doesn't matter, because in working with my 11th house, I feel lucky in that that's a place of luck. Career, aspirations, friends, hopes, dreams. And so working with Taurus and moon in Taurus at my 11th house can bring me luck. So as I've said, you want to look at your 11th house and see what is there. Go to Astrolab and have your chart. Print out your chart for free. So I got out my things, and I decided the only thing that I had at the time to engrave my pendant was a magical screwdriver, which I was using as an athame. If you have an athame, you can use an athame. If you have a Phillips head screwdriver with a point on it, that's what I used. Now, stellar magic is supposed to be its most powerful when the election is the strongest. In working with the moon, you need to have the moon passing by whatever fixed star you have chosen to work with in order to capture most of that astral light. And then the moon will bring it down past the planets and down to the earth plane. And then it will manifest in a way that is best for you. In my case, I've received the best of both worlds for my situation right now in my life. But what I did was, first of all, understood that the moon is exalted in Taurus. Planets can be at home in their like sign, right? Moon is at home in Cancer. When the moon is in Cancer, I just want to be home. I feel very warm, very relaxed, very happy just to be home. But the moon can do more. When it is in Taurus, it can actually lift me up to higher states in life. That's exactly what it's done for me. When you engrave upon metal such as silver or gold, these energies are going to work slower on you, but they're going to produce long-lasting, durable results. These stars are fixed stars, which means they're stationary, you know. They are durable. They stay there. So if you're looking for a stable income, or you're looking for a better situation in life, you'd like to have nicer things, Moon in Taurus is something you'd want to work with. And I ultimately decided that is what I wanted. So I chose Aldebaran. Now, I wrote some notes here. I didn't plan on really talking a lot, but I wanted to be sure that I say some things in particular here. I have to make my lunch and get ready to go to bed because I'm working a lot, but Clifford Hartley Lowe stated, magical talismans have enormous durability. Planetary talismans have enormous durability, especially if you engrave them in a metal such as silver or gold. Once they are created, they don't wear out within the person's lifetime. So if you've ever engraved a planetary symbol on a piece of jewelry that was gold-plated or silver, you might know what I'm talking about. Stellar magic is higher than planetary magic. It is at the top of the hierarchical arrangement here in our world. The fixed stars are even more durable than the planets. Creating a talisman using one of the fixed stars will last for generations. Guys, if you've been trying to lift yourself up and build a legacy that you can have enough to leave something behind for a family member, even if it's just a little house that paid for, this is ultimately what I decided, and it may be what you decide too. If you're tired of struggling and constantly putting out fires and getting something that's really nice to have, but you know it's just not raising you up, lifting you up back to where you were, you know, a lifestyle you were accustomed to, or just lifting you up to a new station of life and slowly beginning to learn what it means, you know, to be around different groups of people who think differently, act differently, live differently, you know, and have nicer things. Then Moon in Taurus could do that for you. Now, obviously, this is a journey that I've just started on in March of 2019, but I know that it slowly began to work on me. When you have, I'll talk about this in a minute, your talisman with you begins to work on you. You become a secondary talisman. It becomes familiar with you, becomes like a friend. When you engrave in the metal, you are impregnating the essence of that star or that celestial spirit to come into that and to be with you, right? And assist you. And this really goes beyond having to employ visualization, casting a circle, meditation, affirmations. It really just requires you to know which fixed star you'd like to work with and the phase of the moon. So that is something that you'll have to look into. I would suggest Christopher Warnock for that, or Clifford Hartley Lowe. So yeah, I provided a good life for my daughter, and we were comfortable, you know. But there were things that were falling apart, you know, in the house, and then with the car, right? So when I made the talisman in March, the house finally sold 2 months later. In the end of May, and it was very sudden. The moon can actually stand for speed, and what was the other one? Oh shoot, speed and something else, and that's what happened. Basically, practically at the last minute, someone said, "I want to buy the house. You know, we want to come now." And it was raining, and I had to sit in my realtor's car. But we ended up negotiating, and they gave me about a week and a half to get out. So now when you choose an item, whether it's a ring or a pendant or a cabochon, you know, that's something you would pin on you, locality matters. Clifford Hartley Lowe says this. It's true. Let me tell you how I know. When I first learned about creating talismans through Silver Raven Wolf, I made them out of wood, and I put them at the base of a candle on my altar. It worked because my altar had been turned into a vortex of power. That was a powerful space. But when I created a talisman of Jupiter, as she recommended, on paper, and encased it in a plastic button with a pin in the back, you know, that you could pin it on you. I didn't do that because it was the symbols of Jupiter. Or put it in your purse as she recommended. Guys, it did nothing. Nothing. I would move it from one section to another. Now, if I had taken it out of the plastic and put it in with my dollar bills in my wallet, it might have been helping me that way. But it was not significant in any way that I could ever notice or remember. Nothing memorable, nothing big, which Jupiter represents. When I worked the candle magic at my altar with Jupiter and a couple of other planets for several nights, yes, then we won the entertainment center. But just creating a talisman and throwing it in your purse is not going to do anything. If you keep it in your wallet, or you keep, you know, where your dollar bills are, that could be more powerful. But what's even more powerful is to put it on your person. Before I got the inheritance, I was charging stones and a High John the Conqueror root and wrapping it in red thread and a fake $100 bill or $500 bill and putting it in my pocket. And I would touch my pocket throughout the day, connecting to those energies and the life I was trying to create to get out of where I was. It was no longer comfortable. I was sleeping in the living room. That's another story. And I just wanted enough money to be able to make a car repair or, go somewhere or move closer to my daughter's school because we were just so far away once she entered high school. And ultimately that happened. And another wish I had was to go to beauty school. I was also able to help my son a little bit and have him come and live with me for a short time. I could never even have him over for the weekend. There was really no place for him to sleep. But he was with his father, so now the election is the ideal moment you would look for when the moon is traveling closest to whatever fixed star you have decided to call upon. But I wasn't able to do that. I couldn't find when the moon was going to be closest to Aldebaran. I couldn't afford to sign up for Christopher Warnock's mailing list. But I knew that you could still draw the essence of the energy that you wanted by putting it on a piece of paper, putting it on your altar, or carving it into your candle. For example, if I'm working on Wednesday and in the hour of Mercury, and I've carved my candle with the sigil of Mercury, what if I want things to work fast? I want to bring in the energy of Mars, but it's not Tuesday. Doesn't matter. You can still bring in some of those energies of Mars by carving the sigil of Mars underneath the sigil of Mercury on your candle. And your candle is, of course, a temporary talisman then. If you make it, and say on Wednesday and the hour of Mercury, you can leave it unlit and it will radiate that energy in a subtle way at your altar. But it will radiate it even more powerfully if you light the candle and let it burn through. And this is generally how I practiced my magic. So I decided that I was just going to have to work with the moon in Taurus because time was of the essence. So I waited for the moon to enter Taurus, and I used my BH Media app. You can also, I think, go to Cafe Astrology. No, just download the BH Media app. When the moon enters Taurus, you are going to get out the things that you need to engrave. I recommend that the moon be waxing or full. When I did it, the moon was waxing, and it was on a Sunday. So these were 3 very beneficial things that were going on. I took my Phillips screwdriver with a pointed head and said, please let this work. I waited for the hour of the moon. It was a Sunday. You may not need to do that. You can look it up if you would like to. And I began engraving. I engraved the symbol of Aldebaran, a sigil of Taurus, and then, of course, a sigil of the moon, crescent moon. I still have the faint markings of Aldebaran. And all I used was the point of this Phillips head screwdriver, which is my magical athame. Now, you could go to a craft store and get an embossing stylus. And I recommend that if you don't have a magical athame. This will be your sacred embossing tool as you begin this journey of working with stellar magic. This being localized on my person was being absorbed through my skin and working on me subtly. Some of the images have worn off, but like I said, 2 months later, the house sold. And as I worked very diligently to get out and clean, and my friend helped me, and I moved close by to a studio apartment that I had already been looking at that had a swimming pool and all kinds of places for me to be able to walk to, because I lost my car. So, it was another time in my life where I lost everything. But I was determined to rebuild. And I was determined to make it even more long-lasting, drawing upon everything I've learned from all the things that have happened. So I put $1,000 in a CD, I put several thousand in an IRA, and I picked a company that I knew paid a dividend. This was working on me. I also took a vacation to Cancun. The word Caribbean came to me. And so I followed it. One thing led to another. It was wonderful to experience the good life in a resort. And Taurus is about luxury. Taurus is about earthly things, material things. It relates to the health in your body like Virgo, but in a different way. Even though Venus is ruled, Venus is, Libra is Venus and Taurus. Yeah, Taurus is really more about luxury. And guys, I was in a luxury resort. I said, you know what? I like this. And I had already been purchasing a few things. I had some high thread count sheets and some Egyptian cotton towels, which you can now get at Walmart. So as you start treating yourself to these things and allowing yourself to have these things, especially as you get older, then you'll start finding ways to be able to have them. So as my money was growing in my retirement account, and this was on me 24/7, shower, swimming, whatever, 24/7. After about 4 months, I took some of the money out from the dividends and decided to buy a really good dining room set. No more stuff on sale that you could push across the kitchen with 2 fingers, While I was in the studio, I bought a few nice things. I did buy a nice cabinet from Target that I had to put together, but it's not like that cheap pressed wood. I bought this nice cat tree. I bought myself a Shark vacuum. I bought some nice things that I could take to my next place. And to my surprise, when May came along in 2020, and I thought, I have to get out of here, I've had too many problems, I think the moon gave me a dream. The sun was in Taurus. It was around May 6th. And I had a dream that I was looking at a really nice apartment. And at first I thought it was the one across the street here. But when I came over one day and I saw this place, I came in here. And after waking up for several mornings in a row, the computer was going in my head. I think my dream was really more of that other apartment. I liked the other apartment better, and it was more money. But I said, I'm not going to sacrifice where I live anymore. Because when you buy things that are going to fall apart, right? And then you have to do the maintenance and you have to do the lawn work or whatever. So during that time after selling the house, I was very afraid to get back into another place or buy a car. I walked and I took Lyft. But I think Taurus was also helping me to realize that I needed to walk. I wasn't getting any exercise anymore. I wasn't taking any stairs. I wasn't riding my bike. I was forced to walk home because I didn't have enough money to take Lyft back and forth to work. I'd get up early in the morning, I'd meditate, search for assignments close to home, and little by little I began to be able to walk farther and farther distances, up to about 4 miles. Yes, it took me a while, but I was feeling better, sleeping better, and I am not going to stop doing that. I am on the ground floor now because I didn't want to deal with stairs or an elevator anymore. I have an attached garage, so I do not have to walk across the parking lot in the dead of winter to get to my car in the underground parking. My mailbox is right outside the door here, and I did have a bad fall in November because I was riding a scooter. I bought a scooter, and I finally decided that I really was ready to get the car I had been thinking of, and that was a Toyota. And I paid cash for an older Toyota. And the fact that I have not received my unemployment yet is just having a car that's paid for a great relief. I would not want to go through that again, where they come and take my car away. I've had to explain to my landlord here, and another blessing, maybe they're receiving some type of temporary grant, but she told me not to worry about it. I told her I'd received a large raise and I was back to work and I was working, and she said, okay, great, just keep me posted. So now, as far as going to look for a grant or going to county, to borrow money, you have to pay them back, even if it's little by little. I would rather just continue working since I've received such a large raise, which I think is hazard pay. I'm going to be making more money than I've ever made in my life, guys. And I have stuck with this job for 10 years. All right, so in conclusion, I hope this has helped give you an introduction into working with the stars, engraving a piece of jewelry that is silver or gold and has a moonstone. I really recommend you getting a moonstone. Moonstones come in a variety of colors. Mine is very milky, creamy, because you've got to employ the moon. Get a moonstone encased in silver. You cannot go wrong. Maybe someday you'll want to buy a ruby ring and engrave that. But this is how you could get started right now. This is magic of the elites. This is what the Magi's would go and do for the royals, and they would pay big money to get these rings engraved, their gemstones engraved with the magic of the stars that would protect the royal house, the city, right? You can build a city that will last for thousands of years with the fixed stars. This will help you build a legacy for generations and have not only a better life for yourself eventually as it begins to work on you and how you think about where you live and how you use money, or find a way to get a vocation with a grant or something. this is what it's done for me. I'm sitting in a luxury apartment, nice neighbors, I can sleep at night, and yeah. So I need to think of what my next video will be about it, but go ahead and watch Clifford Hartley Lowe and Christopher Warnack. I do have some download the BH Media app so you can start looking for the moon in Taurus to help lift you up. All right, blessed be and namaste. See you later.